All right, check, check, radio check. Want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy schedule. See some familiar faces there. So, welcome. Today's call is going to be a little short, but I am a master mentor with Circle Wealth, and it's financial planning software. And really, it's great tools. They've done a lot of updates on a lot of things that I think folks in the community need to know and hear and learn. And so if I ask these questions and they're not designed to disturb you or to make you panic, because you'll see here that the questions are pretty profound. The four questions you must know the answers to retire comfortably. Now, if you've been with me, you've been through our process, we do a deep dive, we get into all the weeds, and to make sure that your specifics are covered. But I think when I'm meeting people for the first time, when I'm trying to share concepts, Circle Wealth really does do a great job of helping people to think differently on what they know. And I have expressions, which is, you don't know what you don't know. So, mathematically, if we can remove emotion from a lot of our decision making, you would panic, right? You would look at it and go, oh my God, that's unviable. But that's part of why we're talking about it, because we cannot dismiss shortfalls, or maybe somebody is just leading with a product versus offering a solution. So without further ado, the first thing I wanted to say is, if you were to sit back and reflect and honestly and say, 10 being a perfect score, how well do you feel you and your family, you and your spouse, maybe you're single, are prepared for retirement? And I was just listening to somebody, I was talking to them, and they were young and 55, and, they've done well. But remember, if they retire 55, and life expectancy for one of them is 85, that's 30 years. How well can we navigate the financials to be able to make it that long? And that's sort of what this conversation is about. It's helping you to sort of think and be honest and just say, hey, if I were to assign a number, do I think I think I'm okay, I'm 50% there. Well, okay. Would you like to know the answer? And we can have that high level discussion, which is why I put up, I don't typically market, professional planning services, or our services and all the things that we offer. But if you would like to have a 10-15 minute question just to run through this model, right, to plug in your numeric values, it doesn't take us long to take a look at and stimulate these questions. And the first question, the four most important financial questions everyone needs to know. And I said this is going to go fast. It's going to be a fast call today. And we may be done even before 15 minutes. But the first question is, do you know the rate of return you need to earn on your savings and investment dollars to be able to live in the future like you live today, adjusted for inflation, and have enough money to last until your life expectancy? That's a mouthful. So imagine I'm sitting on a plane next to you and I ask that question. So imagine we're at some type of gathering, or function, and I ask that question. I mean, do you know, has your financial advisor shared with you the rate of return that you need to be able to maintain your burn rate? That's really what we're talking about. So you have all your assets, we assign it, and sometimes those numbers are, I mean, they're high, right? And when we have rates of return that we see 10, 12, 14, 16% is what you need right now heading into retirement to get to where you want to go and make it through, that involves risk. And that's why we're asking the question. All right, so that's the first question. What about the second? How much do I need to save? Do you know how much you need to save on a monthly or annual basis to accumulate enough money by your retirement to live at the same standard of living you're enjoying today. And this is again, and notice there's a tab in the lower right hand. So in this model, if somebody was already retired, then that question has changed a little bit. But a lot of people, when we're sitting down with them, they're just entering into. And this is, I'll be honest, when I used to go through these questions with folks in the past, I would save this one to last because it's depressing. I mean, the amount of money typically most people would have to save to be able just to maintain. And then, the de facto answer, sort of the pushback that we'll get, will be the last question. Well, then I'll just live on less. And then there's rule of thumb, right? Well, how much is less? Well, I won't have my mortgage and I'll have that. And that's where, it starts to get very muddied. And what we're just trying to say is we're just trying to be fair, right? On all columns. It's your life, it's your retirement. We just want to make sure that if you want to meet and maintain that level of comfort. And I always sort of think about this when somebody says, "Oh, well, I'll live on 30% less," right? Okay, it's your retirement, but why would you want to? If while we're working, this is what we have, and usually the big expense is our mortgage or some type of sleep, paying to sleep indoors. But I don't dismiss it. I think it is a very meaningful and important question, and sometimes it may be attainable and sometimes it's not, but at least we know. Now, when do you want to retire? And this is, I was just having a conversation with my partner. I had a client come in and he was going through this question. And this is a high school friend that he had gone to school with. And she says, "Hey, I'm ready to retire." And he asked that question, "Do you know how much rate of return and how much you need to save in order for you to be able to retire?" And she was like, "Well, not really," because her financial advisor wasn't her high school buddy, but when they saw each other, he said, "Hey, you know what? If you'd like to, I can run these numbers." She did leave his office a little disappointed, upset, as a matter of fact. But the answer and his point was she ended up not being able to mathematically to retire today at the same standard of living. She was going to have to work an extra year or two, but she was making $100,000 plus. So that extension of being able to make that decision, his point was, although she was disappointed, although she wasn't happy, would you rather find out now while you're still working and you haven't hung up your cleats? Or would you rather find out 5 years into retirement when you go, "Oh my God, we're on a trajectory of running out of money"? So a very important question. And then this is the last one, do you know how much you will have to reduce your future standard of living during retirement if you don't do something different than you are doing today? So there is a solution, right? If we needed X amount to be able to live, or a rate of return, or an amount to save that was unfathomable, and we can't check any of those boxes, then we have to reduce the amount that we're living on. And then that's where, when we're doing our public presentations, you'll see, identifying the things that we need versus the things that we want. And that's what we at Professional Planning Services help you to do, is to be able to dissect your cash flow, be able to understand, put a reasonable conservative rate of return on your overall picture so that you can have comfort. And if there are pitfalls or tripwires in your overall plan, we want to identify them and put them and point them out. So again, I said this was going to be a quick call. These are the 4 questions you need to know. Next week, I believe what we're going to do is take you to another a section, a tool. It's a visual. It's called the Personal Economic Model. And I like this because, again, my background is mechanical engineering. I was a plumber in the Navy, firefighter, damage controlman, sheet metal fabricator, welder. I did all these, things, and I learned how to take things apart. Well, the visuals that are in this module I really like, because they are tanks and valves and fittings, and it relates to water, right? Because water is very similar to money. It's going to follow certain paths depending on what we do. So next week will be a personal economic model. Then I think we might be time for our February look back, right? So rear view mirror market update. And then I'll continue on with probably wrap up the month with financial GPS. So these are tools, like I said, I am a master mentor. I've been doing this a long time. I love their communication tools. They have really been spending a lot of time updating them and making them current. So that's why I felt it was timely to present. I am also, and put the link up, our link is now live for our Social Security seminar. You have to get this right. Claiming Social Security, I have a call after this where they didn't know, and the gentleman lost his job. And I mean, he's 62, and you got to know this, right? And so as I'm going through people's specifics, I am trying to extract and piece in and build out their cash flow, right? It is complex. And as much as we might have been able to do a good job while we were working, once we change and we go into that retirement phase, the distribution phase, that's like being on unemployment for the next 30 to 40 years. So, there is no correct answer for that for I think the masses. I think everybody's specifics should be evaluated separately to allow you to be able to make decisions that are in your best interest, your family's best interest, your spouse's best interest. I was just in Texas this week and I was talking to another advisor, and it was interesting because this guy, Wharton grad, smart guy, um, you know, and he said, "Hey, yeah, I had a client that under Social Security, and they were under the government pension offset, and their husband died, and they're not going to get anything." And I said, "That's not true." So the rules around that are complex, but I double checked it. I didn't want to seem like a know-it-all, so I came back and researched it. And sure enough, I mean, especially with the new administration talking about the benefits, being able to removing WEP, that's a windfall election period, or government pension offset. These detailed and they've started actually paying out already this year. So, people that had worked for the government are actually getting bonus checks, right? Retroactive. And so check your savings, your checking account, if that's how your checks are being received electronically. The rules are complex. You have to get this right. It has to be integrated with your finances, and that's what we do. So we would invite you to show up at Maximize Social Security. Love to see you there. Seating is limited, and don't keep us a secret. And then we have to play our disclosure. So I hope everybody's doing well, and I will see everybody next week.